All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Eyes Wide Shut, 1999. Excuse me. Just got back from the allergist office, and here I am sneezing. Well, my asthma is under control at least. I'm giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. I think it's overrated, but I absolutely hated Barry Lyndon. I'm kind of lukewarm towards this one. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. There's no way I was going to finish this last night. I was just too out of it, tired from sleep apnea to sit through 2 hours and 50 minutes of Stanley Kubrick chopped up gobbledygook here. And the first half an hour to an hour is just soap opera. I don't get the dialogue in this one. They talk about HIV and evolution. I guess to be hip and modern or whatever. But it's just a bunch of nonsense. And the ending is completely bad editing on the part of the producers. Of course, Stanley Kubrick died during production, and that's why the ending doesn't make any sense at all. And it has nothing to do with the rest of the story, I might add. It's kind of a bizarre ending. Bizarre way to end a movie. Eyes Wide Shut is a 1999 erotic drama film directed, produced, and co-written by Stanley Kubrick. It is based on the 1926 novella Dream Story, German trauma novelle by Arthur Schnitzler, transferring the story setting from early 20th century Vienna to 1990s New York City. The plot centers on a doctor, Tom Cruise, who is shocked when his wife, Nicole Kidman, reveals that she had contemplated cheating on him the previous summer. He then embarks on a night-long adventure during which he infiltrates a mass orgy of a secret society. I guess it was the costumes were directly the same as some Rothschild party from 1920s. And people came up with all kinds of conspiracies that this was supposed to be an expose of the Rothschilds. Could have very well been an expose on Jeffrey Epstein. We don't know. Kubrick, we can't ask Stanley Kubrick because he's dead. Kubrick obtained the filming rights for Dream Story in the 1960s, considering it a perfect text for a film adaptation about sexual relations. He revived the project in the 1990s when he hired writer Frederick Raphael to help him with the adaptation. The film, which was mostly shot in England, apart from some exterior establishing shots, includes a detailed recreation of exterior Greenwich Village street scenes made at Pinewood Studios. The film's production at 400 days holds the Guinness World Record for the longest continuous film shoot. Kubrick died of a heart attack on March 7th, 1999, 6 days after showing the final cut of Eyes Wide Shut to Warner Brothers, making it the final film he directed. In order to ensure a theatrical R rating in the United States, Warner Brothers digitally altered several sexually explicit scenes during post production. This version was premiered on July 13th, 1999, before being released on July 16th to generally positive but polarized reviews from critics. Although its reception has improved over time, box office receipts for the film worldwide were about $162 million, making it Kubrick's highest grossing film in unadjusted dollars. The uncut version has since been released in DVD, HD, DVD, and Blu ray disc formats. I don't think I watched the uncut version. Okay, this one is distributed by production companies Stanley Kubrick Productions, Polestar, and Hobby Films, distributed by Warner Brothers. Release dates July 13th, 1999 in Los Angeles, July 16th, 1999 in the rest of the United States, and September 10th, 1999 in the UK. Running time 159 minutes. There was no way I was going to watch this last night. The first hour or so, I was just, okay, this is boring. Will something please happen? I couldn't really hear the dialogue, but it didn't matter. By the time I went to the allergy place, I turned on the the English subtitles, and that's when the movie started to get interesting with the weird Rothschild satanic orgy ceremony. I'd like to see the uncut version of this if it's different from the version that I saw. I think it is, but I could be wrong. Countries UK and the United States, language English, budget $65 million and a box office of $162.1 million. I guess you could say it was a success. They wanted to see a white woman, a redhead, Nicole Kidman, get naked. And she does. There's full frontal in this one, too. I guess the reason to watch is Nicole Kidman getting naked repeatedly over and over, as well as the orgy scene. And then there are a couple party scenes with the naked redhead who ends up dying. And Tom Cruise's prostitute friends ends up getting HIV, which is kind of dumb. I mean, how long has Magic Johnson had HIV, and he hasn't died from anything? Then you've got Ryan White, who contracted AIDS from blood transfusion, not from HIV. So there's a lot of HIV nonsense still going around in 1999. And then you've got, what is it? The stupid dialogue between Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise about evolution. That's another thing that ticked me off. But there is the satanic orgy scene. There's quite a lot of nudity. So I don't know, skip to the new parts. That's that's about the only reason to watch this, I guess. Dr. Bill Harford and his wife Alice live in New York City with their daughter Helena. At a Christmas party hosted by Bill's patient, Victor Ziegler, Bill reconnects with his former medical school classmate Nick Nightingale, now a professional pianist. Meanwhile, an older Hungarian guest attempts to seduce Alice, while two young models try to seduce Bill. Victor interrupts Bill's flirtation to handle an emergency involving Mandy, the redhead young woman who overdosed during sex with him. Bill helps stabilize Mandy, but then Mandy reappears at the Rothschild party. The following night, Bill and Alice smoke the cannabis hemp, and they discuss their unfulfilled desires. Bill dismisses the idea of Alice being unfaithful, believing women to be naturally loyal. However, Alice shocks him by confessing to fantasizing about a naval officer she observed while on vacation, even considering leaving Bill and Helena for him. Disturbed, Bill is called to a patient's home where the patient's daughter Marion confesses her love and tries to seduce him, but Bill resists and he leaves. Wandering the city, Bill meets a prostitute named Domino. Before anything happens, Alice calls, prompting Bill to leave after paying Domino without proceeding further. Yeah, that's an easy way to make $150. Just invite Tom Cruise into your shared apartment when your roommate's not there, and scam him for $150. Later, Bill encounters Nick at a jazz club. Nick tells Bill about his secretive gig at 2 a.m. where he will play piano blindfolded, and he reveals the password to gain entry. Intrigued, Bill visits a costume store formerly owned by one of his patients, but now run by Mr. Millich to rent an outfit. During the visit, Millich discovers his teenage daughter with two older men and locks them in a room, threatening to call the police. This is the Jeffrey Epstein part. White slavery. Bill arrives at the mansion. Bill provides the password, and Bill witnesses a bizarre sexual ritual. Yeah, it looks like a black mass. A masked woman warns him that he is in danger. He is taken to a gathering where the master of ceremonies demands a second password. Bill claims to have forgotten the second password to enter the house, to which the master of ceremonies exposes him as an outsider. Before the master of ceremonies forces Bill to remove his clothes, the masked woman intervenes, offering herself to save him. Bill is let go with a stern warning to remain silent, or he and his family are going to get it from the Jeffrey Epstein mafia or the Rothschild family. Shaken, Bill returns home to find Alice laughing in her sleep. She tearfully recounts a dream of having sex with the naval officer and many other men while mocking Bill. The next day, Bill visits Nick's hotel, but the clerk claims Nick was taken away by two threatening men. Returning the costume, Bill notices the mask is missing, and Bill learns that Milich now profits from prostituting his daughter, offering her services to Bill. So we got some white slavery, Jeffrey Epstein business going on the side with the New York costume shop that's open at 2 a.m. Consumed by jealousy and doubt, Bill revisits the mansion, but Bill receives an envelope warning him to stay away. That evening, he tries calling Marion, but he hangs up when her fiancé answers. He then visits Domino's apartment only to find her roommate, Sally, who informs him that Domino had tested HIV positive. That was a real bummer. Sally was looking better than Domino. But she wouldn't get naked with Tom Cruise because she's bummed about Domino testing HIV positive, which again is total nonsense. It means nothing towards the rest of the story. It's just a distraction, along with the talk about evolution. As Bill leaves, a mysterious figure follows him. Later at the morgue, he identifies Mandy as a masked woman from the orgy after reading about her death from an overdose. Victor summons Bill, and Victor admits to being at the orgy. He explains that there was no second password and that Bill's exposure was deliberate. Victor insists the secret society only seeks to intimidate him into silence, but warns they are dangerous. He claims Nick has returned safely to Seattle, and he attributes Mandy's death to her drug addiction, dismissing foul play. So Mandy's got a speedball habit, and it's deadly, apparently. I didn't know speed was that dangerous, but only in Hollywood, weird, right? I thought crack cocaine and crystal meth maybe some angel dust, PCP. That stuff is dangerous in the world of drugs. I think. I could be wrong. Returning home, Bill finds the missing mask placed on his pillow. Breaking down in tears, he confesses everything to Alice the next day. The couple takes Helena shopping for Christmas. Bill apologizes to Alice, who suggests they take action to repair their relationship. And Alice has a response that is completely baffling and unexpected and not a good ending in my view. Production, development. Eyes Wide Shut was developed after Stanley Kubrick read Arthur Schnitzler's Dream Story in 1968. When Kubrick was looking for a project to follow 2001, A Space Odyssey, Kubrick was interested in adapting the story, and with the help of journalist Jay Cox, bought the filming rights to the novel for the following decade. Kubrick considered making the Dream Story adaptation a sex comedy with a wild and somber streak running through it, starring Steve Martin or Woody Allen in the main role. Kubrick also considered Tom Hanks, Bill Murray, Dustin Hoffman, Warren Beatty, Albert Brooks, Alan Alda, and Sam Shepard for the lead in the 1980s. The project was revived in 1994 when Kubrick hired Frederick Raphael to work on the script. updating the setting from early 20th century Vienna to late 20th century New York City. Kubrick invited his friend Michael who helped write Full Metal Jacket, to make revisions, but declined for fear he would be underpaid and would have to commit to a long production. 400 days is a long time. Arthur Schnitzler's 1926 novella Dream Story is set around Vienna after the turn of the century. The main characters are a couple named Fridolin and Albertina. The couple's home is a typical suburban middle-class home. Like the protagonist of the novel, Schnitzler was Jewish. Schnitzler lived in Vienna. Schnitzler was a doctor, although he left medicine to write. Kubrick frequently removed references to the Jewishness of characters in the novels he adopted. In Eyes Wide Shut, Frederick Raphael, who is Jewish, wanted to keep the Jewish background of the protagonist, but Kubrick disagreed, and Kubrick removed details that would identify characters as Jewish. Kubrick determined Bill would be a Harrison Fordish guy. Goy would be a Harrison Fordish Goy, and he created the surname of Hartford as an allusion to the actor. In the film, Bill is taunted with homophobic slurs. In the novella, the taunters are members of an anti-Semitic college fraternity. In an introduction to Penguin Classics edition of Dream Story, Raphael wrote that Fridolin is not declared to be a Jew, but his feelings of cowardice for failing to change his aggressor echo the uneasiness of Austrian Jews in the face of Gentile provocation. The novella is set during the Carnival, when people often wear masks to parties. The party that both husband and wife attend at the opening of the story is a carnival masquerade ball, whereas the film story begins at Christmas time. In the novella, the party, which is sparsely attended, uses Denmark as the password for entrance. That is significant in that Albertina had her infatuation with their soldier in Denmark. The film's password is Fidelio. In early drafts of the screenplay, the password was Fidelio Rainbow. Jonathan Rosenbaum noted that both passwords echo elements of one member's of the couple's behavior, though in opposite ways. The party in the novella consists mostly of nude ballroom dancing. In the novella, the woman who redeems Fridolin at the party, saving him from punishment, is costumed as a nun, and most of the characters at the party are dressed as nuns or monks. Fridolin himself used a monk costume. This aspect was routine in the film's original screenplay, but it was deleted in the film version. The novella makes it clear that Fridolin at this point hates Albertina more than ever, thinking they are now lying together like mortal enemies. It has been argued that the dramatic climax of the novella is actually Albertina's dream, and the film has shifted the focus to Bill's visit to the secret society's orgy, whose content is more shocking in the film. The adoption created a character with no counterpart in the novella, Ziegler, who represents both the elevated wealth and prestige to which Bill Hartford aspires, and a connection between Bill's two words, his regular life, and the secret society organizing the ball. Critic Randy Rasmussen interprets Ziegler as representing Bill's worst self, much as in other Kubrick films, the title character in Doctor Strangelove represents the worst of the U.S. national security establishment. Charles Grady represents the worst of Jack Torrance in The Shining, and Claire Quilty represents the worst of Humbert in Lolita, a movie that I have yet to see, but I do have it on my movies list. More significantly in the film, Ziegler gives a commentary on the whole story to Bill, including an explanation that the party incident where Bill is apprehended, threatened, and ultimately redeemed by the woman's sacrifice was staged. Whether this is to be believed or not, it is an exposition of Ziegler's view of the ways of the world as a member of the powerful elite. When Warner Brothers president Terry Cernell approved production in 1995, he asked Kubrick to cast a movie star, as you haven't done that since Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Kubrick considered casting Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger as Bill and Alice Hartford. Tom Cruise was in England because his wife, Nicole Kidman, was there filming The Portrait of a Lady, 1996, and the pair eventually decided to visit Kubrick's estate. After that meeting, Kubrick awarded them the roles. Kubrick also managed to make both of them not to commit to other projects until Eyes Wide Shut was completed. Kubrick offered Eva Herzegovina a role in the film, but she declined. Kubrick had written the role of Nick Nightingale for John Turturro, but Turturro accidentally declined due to a misunderstanding with Kubrick about him being unavailable for the film, a decision he later regretted. The role eventually went to Todd Field. Jennifer Jason Leigh and Harvey Keitel each were cast in supporting roles in film by Kubrick. Both dropped out, reportedly due to scheduling conflicts. Keitel was first with Finding Graceland, then Leigh with Existence. A great movie from the Canadian director Existence. Oh, David Cronenberg. I couldn't think of his name. Existence is a great flick. I love Jennifer Jason Leigh. I love Existence, and I love David Cronenberg. They were replaced by Sidney Pollack and Mary Richardson, respectively, in the final cut. Decades later, Keitel said that he had quit after feeling like Kubrick had disrespected him. Gary Oldman added that the breaking point was after Kubrick asked Keitel to do dozens of takes for a scene of his character walking through the door. Among the other supporting cast, Alan Cumming later said that he had auditioned 6 times for his small role in the film. In 2019, it was revealed that Cate Blanchett had provided the voice of the mysterious masked woman at the orgy party. Actress Abigail Good could not do a convincing U.S. accent, and Cruise and Kidman ended up suggesting Blanchett for the dubbing, which occurred after Kubrick's death. So a lot of editing occurred after Kubrick died. I would be interested to see the director's cut or uncut, as it were. Mentmore Towers, one of the settings used by the film. There's a picture of it on Wikipedia. Principal photography began in November 1996. Kubrick's perfectionism led to script pages being rewritten on the set, and he eventually filmed many scenes multiple times to try to break down the actors involved and have them give a more authentic performance. One scene of Cruise walking through a door was filmed 95 times. As a result, the shoot went on for much longer than expected. The actress Vanessa Shaw was initially contracted for 2 weeks and one scene, but she ended up working for 2 months. Due to the relentless nature of the production, the crew became exhausted, and the crew were reported to have been impacted by low morale. Cruise developed an ulcer, but he didn't tell Kubrick. Filming finally wrapped up in June 1998. He probably got an ulcer from his wife. I don't think their marriage lasts too long. So it's kind of like art imitating reality. They're having infidelity problems. Tom Cruise is one of those uh, he, Tom Cruise is one of those scientific nuts, along with John Travolta and who's the other actress who was Scientologist? From what was it? Oh, Karen Black is another Scientologist. It's like a weird cult spreading all over Hollywood. You got Karen Black. You got John Travolta, who made his own Scientology movie that was a big flop. And then you have Tom Cruise, another Scientology nut. Principal photography began in November 1996. Kubrick's perfectionism led to script pages being rewritten on the set, and he intentionally filmed many scenes multiple times to try to break down the actors involved and have them give a more authentic performance. One scene of Cruise walking through the door was filmed 95 times. Filming finally wrapped in June 1998. The Guinness Book of World Records recognized Eyes Wide Shut as the longest constant movie shoot that ran for over 15 months, a period that included an unbroken shoot of 46 weeks. Unreal. I guess Kubrick wanted to go out with a bang. Given Kubrick's fear of flying, the entire film was shot in England. Soundstage works were completed at London's Pinewood Studios, which included a detailed recreation of Greenwich Village. Kubrick's perfectionism went as far as sending workmen to Manhattan to measure street widths and note newspaper vending machine locations. Real New York footage was also shot to be rear projected behind crews. Production was followed by a strong campaign of secrecy, helped by Kubrick always working with a short team or on set. Outdoor locations included Halton Garden for a Greenwich Village set street, Hamley's for the toy store from the film's ending. A very bizarre and abrupt ending, I might add. And Mentmore Towers and Alvendale Hall in Elvendon, Suffolk, England for the mansion. I was listening to the dialogue, even when I couldn't hear the dialogue, I was thinking to myself, is this how people is this how married people talk? They whisper nonsense to each other and you can barely hear what they're saying. Larry Smith, who had first served as gaffer on both Barry Lyndon and The Shining, was chosen by Kubrick to be the film's cinematographer. Wherever possible, Smith made use of available light sources visible in the shots, such as lamps and Christmas tree lights. But when this was insufficient, he used Chinese paper ball lamps to softly brighten the scene with other types of film lighting if needed. The color was enhanced by push processing the film reel's emulsion, which helped bring out the intensity of the color and emphasize highlights. This effect is evident in the Christmas party scene at Ziegler's house, with Smith noting that the push processing made the lights appear to be much brighter than they were, and it created a wonderful warm glow. Kubrick's perfectionism led him to oversee every visual element that would appear in a given frame, from props and furniture to the color of walls and other objects. One such element were the masks used in the orgy, which were inspired by the masked carnival balls visited by the protagonist in the novel. I thought they were inspired by the Rothschilds, but that's just a conspiracy theory. How dare I suggest that? Costume designer Marit Allen explained that Kubrick felt they fit in that scene for being part of the imaginary world, and it ended up creating the impression of menace, but without exaggeration. As many masks as were used in the Venetian Carnival were sent to London, and Kubrick chose who would wear each piece. The paintings of Kubrick's wife, Christine, and his daughter, Katharina, are featured as decoration. Nicole Kidman revealed that her explicit scenes with the naval officer played by Gary Goba were filmed over 3 days, and that Kubrick warned them to be almost pornographic. After shooting had been completed, Kubrick entered a prolonged post-production process, and on March 1st, 1999, Kubrick showed a cut to Cruise, Kidman, and the Warner Brother executives. Kubrick died suddenly 6 days later. Jocelyn Pook wrote the original music for Eyes Wide Shut, but like other Kubrick movies, the film was noted for its use of classical music. The opening title music is Shostakovich Waltz Number 2 from Suite for Variety Stage Orchestra, misidentified as Jazz Suite Number 2. One recurring piece in the second movement of Georgy Liget's piano cycle Musica Ricercata. Kubrick originally intended to feature I'm Tribe House from Wagner's Wesendonck Lieder, but the director eventually replaced it with Ligeti's piece, feeling Wagner's song was too beautiful. Well, that's unfortunate. You should have kept Wagner in there. In the morgue scene, Franz Liszt's late solo piano piece, Nuages Gris, Gray Clouds, 1881, is heard. Rex Tremende from Mozart's Requiem plays as Bill walks into the cafe and reads of Mandy's death. We got to give Amadeus whatever his middle name, Mozart. Amadeus. Oh, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. We got to give him music credit, and we got to give Kubrick the production and writing credits. All right. Pook was hired after choreographer Yolande Snaith rehearsed the mask ball orgy scene using Pook's composition Backwards Priest, which features a Romanian Orthodox divine liturgy recorded in a church in Balamer played backwards as a reference track. Kubrick then called the composer, and Kubrick asked if she had anything else weird like that song, which was reworked for the final cut of the scene with the title Mask Ball. Pook ended up composing and recorded 4 pieces of music, many times based on her previous work, totaling 24 minutes. The composer's work ended up having mostly string instruments, including a viola played by Pook herself, with no brass or windwoods, as Pook just couldn't justify these other textures, particularly as she wanted the tracks played on dialogue-heavy scenes to be subliminal, and she felt such instruments would be intrusive. Another track in the orgy, Migrations, features a Tamil song sung by Manikam Yogswaran, a Kamatic singer. The original cut featured a scriptural recitation from the Bhagavad Gita, which Pook took from previous Yogswaran recording. South African Hindu Mahasabha, a Hindu group, protested against the scripture being used. Warner Brothers issued a public apology. Warner Brothers hired the singer to record a similar track to replace the chant. The party at Ziegler's house featured rearrangements of love songs, such as When I Fall in Love and It Had to Be You, used in increasingly ironic ways, considering how Alice and Bill flirt with the other people in the scene, as Kidman was nervous about doing nude scenes. Kubrick stated she could bring her own music for the filming. When Kidman brought a Chris Isaak CD, Kubrick approved it, and Kubrick incorporated Isaac's song Baby Did a Bad, Bad Thing to both an early romantic embrace of Bill and Alice in the film's trailer. The film was described by some reviewers and partially marketed as an erotic thriller, a categorization disputed by others. It is classified as such in the book The Erotic Thriller in Contemporary Cinema by Linda Ruth Williams. And it was described as such in news articles about Cruise and Kidman's lawsuit over assertions they saw a sex therapist during filming. The positive review in Combustible Celluloid describes it as an erotic thriller upon first viewing, but actually a complex story about marriage and sexuality. High Def Digest also called it an erotic thriller. I don't know what erotic thriller refers to. Maybe they're talking about a Shannon Tweed movie that got mistaken for this one. Shannon Tweed looks super ugly with all her plastic surgery, man. What does she do to her face? She ought to sue her plastic surgeon. However, reviewing the film at aboutfilm.com, Carlo Cavagna regards this as a misleading classification, as does Leo Goldsmith, writing at notcoming.com, and the review on Blu-ray.com, writing in TV Guide. Maitland McDonough writes, no one familiar with the cold precision of Kubrick's work will be surprised that this isn't a steamy erotic thriller, a synopsis or ads might suggest. I'm telling you, that's the only reason to watch this film is the nudity. Writing in general about the genre of erotic thriller for Cine Action in 2001, Douglas Kesey states that whatever Ice White Shut's actual type, it was at least marketed as an erotic thriller. Michael Koreski, writing in the 2006 issue of Film Journal, Reverse Shot, writes, this director who defies expectations at every turn and brings genre to his feet was setting out to make neither the erotic thriller that the press maintained nor the easily identifiable Kubrick film. DVD Talk similar dissociates the film from this genre. In addition to relocating the story from Vienna in the 1900s to New York City in the 1990s, story from Mardi Gras to Christmas, Michael Koreski believed Kubrick did this because of the rejuvenating symbolism of Christmas. Mario Falsetto, on the other hand, notes that Christmas lights allow Kubrick to employ some of his distinct methods of shooting, including using source location lighting, as he also did in Barry Lyndon. The New York Times notes that the film gives an otherworldly radiance and personality to Christmas lights, and critic Randy Rasmussen notes that colorful Christmas lights illuminate almost every location in the film. Harper's film critic Lee Seigel believes that the film's recurring motif is the Christmas tree because it symbolizes the way that, compared with the everyday reality of sex and emotion, our fantasies of gratification are pompous and solemn in the extreme. For desire is like Christmas, it always promises more than it delivers. Yeah, I guess it does. If you're an atheist and you only exchange gifts at Christmas time, you don't go to church. Author Tim author Tim Kreider notes that the Satanic Mansion party at Som- Somerton is the only set in the film without a Christmas tree, stating that almost every set is uh, suffused with the dreamlike hazy glow of colored lights and tinsel. Furthermore, he argues that Eyes Wide Shut, though it was released in the summer, was the Christmas movie of 1999, noting that Kubrick has shown viewers the dark side of Christmas consumerism. Louise Kaplan states that the film illustrates ways in which the material reality of money is shown replacing the spiritual values of Christmas charity and compassion. While virtually every scene has a Christmas tree, there is no Christmas music or cheery Christmas spirit. Critic Alfonso Durold, in his book Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas, categorized the film as a Christmas movie for grown-ups, arguing that Christmas weaves its way through the film from start to finish. Historians, travel guide authors, novelists, and merchants of Venetian masks have noted that these have a long history of being worn during promiscuous activities. Authors Tim Kreider and Thomas Nelson have linked the film's usage of these to Venice's reputation as a center of both eroticism and mercantilism. Nelson notes that the sex ritual combines elements of Venetian carnival and Catholic rites. Coral Rowe, in her book, in Stanley Kubrick's movie Eyes Wide Shut, argues symbolic meaning is represented through its connection to the characters in the film. As Tom Kreider points out, this can be seen through the mass in the prostitute's apartment and her being renamed as Domino in the film, which is a type of Venetian mask. Unused early poster designs for the film by Kubrick's daughter, Katharina, used the motif of Venetian mask, but they were rejected by the studio because they obscured the faces of the film's two stars. Again, people wanted to see Nicole Kidman naked, Tom Cruise's wife. Paintings and structures appear throughout the film, some historical and others painted by Kubrick's wife, Christine Kubrick, and stepdaughter, Katharina Kubrick Hobbs. The home of the Harfords contains the majority of the works painted by Kubrick's family members, with the exception being a painting of a nude reclining pregnant woman by Christine Kubrick, titled Paula on Red, that appears in Ziegler's bathroom during the overdose scene. Yeah, that painting was kind of, it looked like something from Jeffrey Epstein estate. It's kind of ironic that it came from Stanley Kubrick's wife. I mean, it looks like some kind of painting from San Francisco. In the beginning of the film, as Bill and Alice are saying goodbye to their daughter Helena and the babysitter, a painting by Christine Kubrick titled View from the Mentmore can be seen hanging next to the Christmas tree. Mentmore Towers is an English country house in the southeast of England that was used for filming the interior scenes of the Somerton house and the mask orgy. During Ziegler's party, Bill is summoned to the bathroom to deal with an apparent overdose. As he climbs the spiral staircase, he passes Gualo Bergonzoli's sculpture Gli Amori degli Angeli, The Loves of Angels, which is at the foot of the staircase. This sculpture is said to be inspired by a poem titled The Love of Angels by 19th century poet Thomas Moore. The poem itself describes the story of three angels who fall in love with mortal women, and they share the password to heaven, with them resulting in their banishment. At the time of the poem's release, it was received with controversy due to the open eroticism throughout. During the same party sequence, Bill is talking with the two models as they walk past a small reproduction of Gian Lorenzo Bernini's sculpture Apollo and Daphne sitting on a table. When Bill enters the cafe towards the end of the film, two pre-Raphaelite paintings can be seen hanging on parallel walls: Ophelia by John William Waterhouse and Asardi Sirica by Dante Gabriel Rossellini. Waterhouse's Ophelia depicts the character by the same name in Shakespeare's tragedy Hamlet. Moments before her death, Astardi Sirica depicts Astarte, the ancient Syrian goddess of love, as well as two symmetrical angels holding torches directly behind her. Both paintings mirror events within the film, and as Robert Wilkes writes, reflect its mood of sensuality, ritualism, and exoticism. In the same cafe scene, a Crystolium paint of Maud Goodman's Hush for a moment of idleness is seen behind Bill as he sits down with the newspaper. In the following shot, the print is replaced with what Wilkes describes as a more chaotic, nightmarish image as Bill reads about the ex-beauty's queen's apparent overdose. When Bill is walking through the hospital halfway towards the end of the film, he walks past Jan Hawath's painting Ante Gurdy Burning, 1995. The painting is oil on canvas and mounted on a screen. It is a permanent collection of the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital where the scenes were filmed. Warner Brothers heavily promoted Eyes Wide Shut while following Kubrick's secrecy campaign to the point that the film's press kits contain no production notes, not even the director's suggestion. To Simo, regarding the marketing campaign given 1 week prior to Kubrick's death, the first footage was shown to theater owners attending the 1999 Show West convention in Los Angeles. TV spots feature both Isaac and Ligeti's music from the soundtrack. While revealing little about the movie's plot, the film also appeared on the cover of Time magazine and on show business programs such as Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood. Eyes Wide Shut opened on July 16, 1999 in the United States. The film topped the weekend box office with $21.7 million from 2,411 screens. These numbers surpassed the studio's expectations of $20 million, and the numbers became both Cruise's sixth consecutive chart topper and Kubrick's highest opening weekend, as well as the highest featuring Kidman and Cruise together. Eyes Wide Shut ended up grossing a total of $55,691,208 in the US. The numbers put it as Kubrick's second highest grossing film in the country, behind 2001: A Space Odyssey, but both were considered a box office disappointment. So it wasn't this one and 2001: A Space Odyssey were not considered box office bombs, but I guess the producers were expecting more money from both of them. Shortly after its screening at Venice Film Festival, Eyes Wide Shut had a British premiere on September 3rd, 1999, at the Warner Village Cinema in Leicester Square. The film's wide opening occurred the following weekend, and it topped the UK charts with £1,189,672. The internal performances for Eyes Wide Shut were mostly positive, with Kubrick's longtime assistant and brother-in-law Jan Harlan stating that it was badly received in the Anglo-Saxon world, but it was very well received in the Latin world and Japan. In Italy, it was a huge hit. Overseas earnings of over $105 million led to the $162,091,208 box office run worldwide. That's in US dollars, turning it into the highest grossing Kubrick film. Eyes Wide Shut was first released on VHS and DVD on March 7, 2000. The original DVD release corrects technical gaffes, including a reflected crew member and altering piece of Alice Hartford's dialogue. In addition to the reflected crew member, most home videos removed the verse that was claimed to be cited from the sacred Hindi scripture Bhagavad Gita, although it was Pook's reworking of Backwards Priest, as stated above. In the UK, Warner Brothers Videos rated 18, no video altering 1999 DVD release was in 4:3 full frame aspect ratio, with a note at the beginning that this was as Kubrick intended it to be shown, ratio as shot. However, the film's length on this UK DVD is only 153 minutes as opposed to the 159 minutes of other available DVD and Blu-ray versions. This is due to the transfer being done at 25 frames per second rather than 24 as shot. No actual footage was cut. On October 23rd, 2007, Warner Home Video released Eyes Wide Shut in a special edition DVD plus the HD DVD and Blu-ray disc formats. This is the first home video release that presents the film in an anamorphic 1.78 to 1 or 16:9 format. The film was shown theatrically as soft-matted 1.66 to 1 in Europe and 1.85 to 1 in the US and Japan. The previous DVD used a 1.33 to 1, 4:3 aspect ratio. It is also the first US home video release to feature the uncut version. That's the version I want to see. Although the earliest US DVD of the uncut version states on the cover that includes both the R-rated and unrated editions, in actuality, only the unrated edition is on the DVD. The Criterion Collection will release the film on 4K and Blu-ray this month in November 2025. Well, I'm up over an hour and I still haven't got through the critical response, the awards and honors controversy, Kubrick's opinions, studios, censorship, and classification. So here we go. Critical response. Eyes Wide Shut received generally positive reviews from critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of a whopping 76% based on 164 reviews, with an average rating of 7.9 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, Kubrick's intense study of the human psyche yields an impressive cinematic work. Metacritic gives the film a weighted average score of 69 out of 100 based on 34 reviews, indicating generally favorable reviews. Over 50 critics listed the film among the best of 1999. French magazine Cahiers du Cinema named it the best film of the year in its annual top 10 list. However, audiences polled by Cinema Score gave the film an average rating of a D- on an A+ to F scale. I'm sort of in the middle. I'm giving it a C or a 3 out of 5 or a 60 out of 100 or 60%, 60 out of 100, a 6 out of 10, a 3 out of 5. In the Chicago Tribune, Michael Wilmington declared the film a masterpiece, lauding it as provocatively conceived, gorgeously shot, and masterfully executed. Kubrick's brilliantly choreographed one-take scenes create a near-hypnotic atmosphere of commingled desire and dread. Nathan Rabin of the AV Club was also highly positive, arguing that the film's primal, almost religious intensity and power is primarily derived from its multifaceted realization that disobeying the dictates of society and your conscience can be both terrifying and exhilarating. The film's depiction of sexual depravity and amorality could easily venture into the realm of camp in the hands of a lesser filmmaker, but Kubrick depicts primal evil in a way that somehow makes it seem both new and deeply terrifying. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film a score of 3.5 stars out of 4, writing Kubrick's great achievement in the film is to find and hold an odd, unsettling, sometimes erotic tone for the Doctor's strange encounters. He praised the individual dreamlike atmosphere of the separate scenes, and he called the choice of Christmas-themed lighting garish, like an urban sideshow. Reviewer James Bertadanelli stated that it was arguably one of Kubrick's best films. Isn't that what they said of Barry Lyndon? I hated Barry Lyndon. Along with considering Kidman consistently excellent, he wrote that Kubrick has something to say about the causes and effects of depersonalized sex, and Bertardinelli praised the work as thought-provoking and unsettling. Writing for the New York Times, reviewer Janet Maslin commented, "This is a dead serious film about sexual yearnings, one that flirts with ridicule, yet sustains its fundamental eeriness and gravity throughout. The dreamlike intensity of previous Kubrick visions is in full force here. Some reviewers were unfavorable. One intended to convey a dream state. Critics agreed that it made actions and decisions seem late. Another complaint was that it did not live up to the expectation of it being a sexy film, which is what it had been marketed as, thus defying audiences' expectations. While Kubrick's pictorial talents were described as striking by Rob Dreher of the New York Post, the pivotal scene was deemed by Stephen Hunter for the Washington Post as the dullest orgy he had ever seen. Hunter elaborates on his criticism. Hunter states that Kubrick is annoyingly offhand while at the same time grindingly pedantic. Points are made over and over again. Things are explained till the dawn threatens to break in the east, and the movie stumbles along at a glacial pace. Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly complained about the inauthenticity of the New York setting, claiming that the soundstage used for the film's production didn't have enough bustle to capture the reality of New York. Paul Tatara of CNN described the film as a slow-motion mortality full of hot female bodies. And the New York Observer criticized film's feeble attempts at melodramatic tension. There's no one by their newfound take them to even dream plays need some grounding in the real world. Jay Hoberman wrote that the film feels like a rough draft at best. Lee Siegel from Harper's felt that most critics responded mainly to the marketing campaign and did not address the film on its own terms. Others felt the U.S. censorship took an esoteric film and made it even harder to understand. In his article, Grotesque Caricature, published